Okay guys, we've got a 15-minute game up on the board. Opponents rated 1024 and they've started with something extremely weird. A3. A3. Okay, so I'm going to go with my normal response to weird ass openings and I'm going to play reverse London. It's a general idea. And now B4. This is unusual. Okay, let's bring out the bishop. It's important not to get flustered by strange openings that your opponent might play. This is not great for development. I mean, he's spent 2 pawn moves now, and all he's done is maybe give himself a long diagonal for that bishop. Okay. This diagonal now is not looking great for my dark squared bishop. But I think if it goes to d6 like normal, that's probably alright. So that's the plan. Normal London setup. Alright, okay. This knight doesn't have a huge future there. If I play c6 now, it takes away all the squares from that knight. I even think about fianchettoing my own bishop, but then that could leave this guy stranded if I play g6. Alright. Let's bring out the knight, cover this square. And now, yeah, bishop goes to there. That's not unexpected. Right, let's develop the dark squared bishop. Now, if this knight were to move, it hasn't really got any good places, but I can still play my knight out here, defended by the other knight. Opponents from Poland. I'm kind of tempted to push here, gain some space. Don't see any risk to that. Still got to watch out for this because that pawn's undefended. So should the knight move, I need to take some action to protect this pawn and the rook behind it. Okay, now if I pushes, I think best to allow the pawn to push twice and then block off. So let's develop this knight. C4 looks nice. I don't have to play it just now. It's also preventing this. You get my queen onto this diagonal. If I can disturb this knight, then I might be able to grab h2 with check if white castles. So let's just put the queen on there. Pushes. I can capture with the knight. Okay, this is fine. Okay, but now if b6, I can't just push, which was my plan. So I might even drop my queen back here. I don't think I want to castle kingside with these advanced pawns at all. Now if pushes, I take. If I castle now, then they push, I take, takes, I've won a pawn. Okay, let's castle. I'm not worried about this. Push, takes, or even knight takes, and I've won a pawn. Then if rook takes rook, I can recapture with my other rook. So I'm castled and I have completed development, whereas white is, because of these massive pawn advances, white is now just behind in development. So we kind of switched positions really. This bishop's not looking fantastic. I'll put him here, try and trade off with that knight. Just looking at where that knight can go. I think that's okay. So now we're in the middle game. I'm looking at improving my pieces. Building up to an attack. So this piece was bad because of this light square pawn structure here. Really has no scope on the board. Could have gone back here or there. That's really it. So this is not a piece with great prospects. Whereas this knight, however, is providing an important defensive role. Okay. d4 now looks tempting. Then I'm attacking 2 knights and also grabbing some space. Do I have to worry about this pawn push? Should I grab the knight first? Grab. Yeah, I'm going to swap off the bishop, grab the knight, then maybe play d4. Knight can't go there, can't go there, can't go there. That's bad. Yeah, leaves the knight without any really good options. He's going to have to go back to the edge of the board somehow. I'm expecting bishop takes, clearly. Another option then is bishop takes h2. So bishop takes h2, rook's not going to take. Pushes g3, I can capture. Pawn takes, queen takes with check. That looks good. Let's just figure it out again. Bishop takes h2. g3, captures with check, and the king's in a mess. Question is, do I want to throw in this first? We're not going to get e5 because bishop can just take. So let's do this. The knight's going to have to retreat, I think. Maybe there, actually. It's probably the best square. But these are all poor. I don't think this and push... No. I still fancy this capture on h2. So it's a very simple kind of attacking strategy. Line up a couple of pieces against a sensitive pawn and then take out the defensive knight. Where are you going to put your knight, white? This is Look 82. Rated just over 1,000. Okay, so now does that change anything here? Takes, rook's not going to take, push, now captures. Now the knight is actually guarding g3, so that maybe was an error on my part. I didn't consider that after this pawn moved, the knight could go to here. However, it does stop white from castling, because then bishop takes with check, and the bishop can just retreat. So, what else do we have? Kind of like to improve this knight, but then it blocks off that diagonal. But then could I take the bishop? The bishop's looking a bit vulnerable there. Let's have a poke at that. Bishop can't actually save itself. It's only got these 2 squares. And either one it gets taken for free, so that's not going to happen. Okay, now if knight takes, we've got queen takes. Queen's also defending that. This is not a good bishop though. I don't know if I want to trade off my knight for that light square bishop because it's got very little to play with. Going to be worried about this? No. Maybe I should kind of reroute this knight round, then takes, queen takes, and then I've got knight back there, hit the queen again. That might be an idea. Oh, he still hasn't castled. Could castle now. Yeah. Alright, so now thinking maybe about pawn breaks as well. So f5 looks playable. Again, this bishop is not good. Or it does have a defensive role. But now, let's say knight takes, queen takes, Knight takes knight to e5, again hitting the queen. Knight could even come back to here. But it's still, I don't know if it's a good trade. Don't like c4 because it undefends his pawn. Let's look again at this pawn break. Pawn takes, pawn takes. Knight can't take the rook. Then I could break open the centre. I think it's okay. Pawn takes, pawn takes. Alright, okay. White's playing a pawn break of his own. Now, f4. Moves the knight away, but then does block my nice diagonal attack. Takes, queen takes, just improves the queen. Takes, takes. Makes the bishop a bit stronger, but I'm also thinking about doubling up my rooks here at some point. Kind of like this though. Shifts the knight. But if takes, takes, he's got bishop takes, wins a pawn. And I'll just have to instigate that trade. And it is moving, capturing outwards with a pawn, which is not brilliant. If my knights are paired, which is sometimes a good thing. Now this bishop's looking a bit clogged up. Maybe push that, move the knight, and then reroute this bishop, maybe around to here. You have to move fairly quickly. My opponent's got 10 minutes left, I'm on 7 minutes 30. Bishop can take the knight, that's fine. That hits the rook. The knight goes here, I can kick again. It can't go there, then could I? Yeah, no, can't take that. So rook's defending the pawn. Knight here, pawn takes. Sorry, pawn g6 hits the knight. Knight's actually trapped. So I think actually the knight needs to retire. Oh. Okay. Now it's time to calculate. I'm thinking pawn takes knight. If bishop takes, maybe. Or if I take the bishop, so he's just taking a knight. If I take the bishop, that's hitting the rook, so he's going to have to do something about his rook. So then surely this is a double attack, right? I'm attacking the knight and the rook. One of them is going to get captured. Rook can't move with check or anything very deadly. So that's an example, I think, of a poor counter-attack. Okay, so on this move, I attack the knight. On this move, this is a capture with a recapture, but then that comes with a second attack. So now white is in this situation of having two pieces on prise and cannot defend both. The knight can't move with a great threat either. Rook can't move with a great threat. Okay, so now I grab the rook, yeah? Yeah. Alright, now the queen's looking there. That's interesting. Now if I move my knight here, knight takes, even rook takes, I think that's probably alright. Knight here blocks the queen, but then means that my queen is tied to its defence. I've got rook there as well. So options. I kind of like knight f6. It puts the question to white, because then I'm threatening to take his knight. Takes, king takes, or queen takes. I think that's alright. I think we're okay. So now this knight's under threat. Can't capture there, because I think probably queen. If he captures there, I've got rook takes. Okay, that's fine. Just grab the knight. And now he's actually blocked off his queen's best attack. Need to be conscious that bishop's looking at that, but bishop's probably about to capture the knight. Okay. So I'm up basically the exchange at this point. G6 looks natural. Kicking the bishop back. Bishop will probably go to here and look at this pawn. But... and I like that the queen is kind of neutered there. So let's play that. Got 5 minutes on the clock. Got both queens looking at that pawn. Queen's also the only defender of that pawn. Okay. I'm slightly surprised at that one. So you're looking at this, defended by my queen. I think I should get my rook off the light square. This pawn's hanging. This pawn's blocking. I think we are in a reasonable situation. If I can neutralise this bishop and then just take advantage of the fact that I've got 2 rooks and an open file. Okay, I think simply block here. Let's simplify things. This pawn's still hanging. Got queen d7. Probably rook d1. Then maybe queen here. I think the bishop went back to here to stop the advance of that pawn. That's probably the idea. Right, so the queen's now looking at this loose pawn. So let's... I'm going to move my queen somewhere. That's an option. Looking at there. I think that's all right. Let's put it here on a dark square. There's no rush. 2 attackers now on that pawn. Oh yeah, well done. That's not a bad move. However, now I can play rook there. Bishop takes, I just capture. This pawn's still hanging, and I have a spare rook that can grab it. That would make a difference. Try and swap off my rook for white's remaining rook. Okay, I'm going to grab the rook. Don't see a threat. Maybe centralise my rook, defend that pawn, that'd be cute. H5 is kind of pointless at this point. Bishop might go back here actually. That's not a great square though for the bishop. Look where it's pointing, just at the sides of the board. Wow, another pawn push. It's actually hanging, but I can't capture because of my queen is busy defending that. So if I were to take, I've got bishop takes, that's no good. So let's try and move the bishop. The bishop moves on this diagonal, then I can grab the pawn. The bishop moves back there. Even ideas of sacking the rook. See, rook takes bishop, pawn takes, queen takes pawn. Ah, That's interesting, look. So that's like a skewer. So I can simply defend the rook. It's this. I've still got actually 2 defenders on this pawn, although it's only attacked once. This rook's doing nothing right now. It's trying to do everything with queen and bishop. So the bishop's still hanging. Bishop takes pawn, I recapture with the rook. My rook's still safe. Okay. I think rook back to here now. Oh no, this... Okay, so it's going to be rook d8. And the rook can't join in the fun because I've got rook takes with check. The king g7 might come just to defend this pawn. Keep the king on a dark square. 3 minutes 23. Also now, with rook d2, okay, no brainer. You can't recapture actually. I've got 2 attackers, 2 defenders. That's check, forces the exchange of queens. Queen doesn't have time to capture on g6. You've got to capture with the queen. And resigning is also an option at this point. So now these pawns are at my mercy. Yeah, okay, there we go. So, quick review. Premature preemptive pawn push in the opening. That's my reading of the game. I play standard, I'm developing twice, 3 times, 3 times. Another pawn push. 4-3 now to black. 4-all. 5-4. Still 5-4. 7-4 to black now, because castling's worth 2. So yeah, the thing is, this pawn push, I mean, it could have been an idea, it could have been a strategy, but it wasn't a great threat. We ended up in this situation where the pawns are now able to deadlock each other. Another pawn push. Trade off good piece for bad piece. Kick. Pawn break, pawn break. And this was the error. See, this capture here came with the recapture came with a counter attack, so we're going to lose material. Knight moves, I win the exchange, I'm up 2 points. Trade of knights, kick the bishop, lock off the pawns so we can forget about that side of the board. Queen attacks, loose pawn, 2 attackers, 2 defenders, grab a loose pawn, kick the bish, defend, and this was a blunder. Got 3 attackers against that piece and only 2 defenders. Bang, and we're all done. Okay, there you go. So that's a nice win against a, 10-23 opponent. Massive pawn storms have their place, but they have their place in the middle game. I would say not in the opening. Okay, so yeah, clearly, I mean, pawn storms can be great. Absolutely, for sure. But that was just premature. Okay. Thank you for watching. Hope you've picked up 1 or 2 tips from that. Please subscribe to Chess Bootcamp if you haven't subscribed. I'll see you soon.